Hello everyone, my name is Jason Ramirez and welcome to Season 5, Episode 3 of the Hit List Podcast, a podcast where me and guests cross off films from our watch list and discuss them. I'm joined today by a returning guest. She's an actress and she's a YouTuber, and some people, like she just said to me before we started recording, some people pay to watch her eat cough drops while she's watching a movie. I'm not too sure about that.
No, that's not what I said.
It's Clariss. Welcome, Clariss. Thank you so much for coming back. And what did you... Is that what you said?
No, that's not what I meant. I have a bit of a track record of constantly eating while I watch movies, but I keep most of that for my full lengths on Patreon. So I was like, it's okay. They're paying to watch me eat, basically. They're not actually paying to watch me eat. They're paying for analysis and entertainment, but I'm hungry. So
it's a feature. It's a feature.
Yeah, it's a feature. Saying. Food is featured on the videos. Some awesome. ASMR, I guess. But thank you so much for having me back. I'm really excited to be back on the podcast.
This time on video. Because people have been asking for that for like actual years by now. It's been years and they keep asking for videos. So
well, that's awesome. I'm happy that now I'm on the visual. So hey guys.
Hey. So before we get started, I have 2 questions for you. First question, I ask everyone. Have your viewing habits changed since the last time you were on the show?
Ooh, viewing habits. Do you mean like the things that I've watched or how I watch things?
So when I asked you when you first came on, first episode, I asked what's your viewing habits whenever you watch a movie? Do you sit down and watch your favorites or you watch something new? But since you were on the podcast, has that habit changed?
I think so. Mostly just from YouTubing. I find that I have a bit more of a keen eye to know what I feel like watching, and it tends to be things that are new. I've just been watching a lot of films for the first time recently that I'm really excited to put out on the channel, but as well as outside where I'm just finding more of the intrigue where I'm like, okay, what film kind of speaks to me, similar to like this one that we were talking about with searching, and then I'll sit down and watch that. But then on occasion I'll watch something else. But still, recently I'm having more of a first time watch phase where I'm enjoying watching things that I've never seen before, especially TV shows. I recently finished the show Severance. Not sure if you've seen that show yet, but it's incredible. It's incredible. And so I think just watching a lot of original content has gotten me into changing those habits.
So I'm looking at your YouTube page. You recently saw Monty Python and the Holy Grail, Jurassic Park 3. Fun fact, Jurassic Park 3 is the first Jurassic Park movie I ever saw.
Really? Oh my God. So it holds nostalgic value for you.
It's fine. Like I watched it when it was on TBS, and it was apparently the only movie they'll show from the franchise that they'll show on TBS like constantly.
Yeah.
And so it was just always on.
No, I remember
also saw The Predator, The Predator 2, and Everything Everywhere All at Once. Okay, so I think we did discuss this. You wanted to watch Prey for the podcast, but unfortunately that was already chosen by the time you chose that.
Yeah.
Guys, go listen to the Prey. That was with Sophia Fan. That was episode 1 of this season. My second question. I'm gonna have fun asking this question.
Okay.
All right. If you was a squirrel and I was an acorn and you saw me across the way, would you go nuts for me?
Oh my God. Did you come up with that question?
Yes.
Oh my God.
So the answer is no. I did not come up with that question, but I love asking that question because it's just so strange.
That is a fantastic question. I love it. That is amazing. I love bizarre questions like that because it makes me think of one of the first times I was in like a kind of like a theater kid, like interviewing like a famous or kind of famous, like successful actor per se. One of my classmates, because we were all in a theater group, they had us like write in little notes and they would draw questions from a hat to ask the actress. And it was Jasmine Sky, I think. I'm gonna hate myself if I ruin her name, but she was from the Wonder Years, I'm pretty sure. Jasmine Guy, I think. Yeah, Jasmine Guy. Jasmine Guy. There we go. It was Jasmine Guy. And my schoolmate like wrote the most bizarre question. It was something like if you were stranded in a spaceship heading towards like something in another galaxy, who would you pick as your Romeo to your Juliet? Like it was that bizarre. And he signed it with his name, and the interviewer looked at him and was like, the fuck? And she answered it. It was great. She answered it. So I love icebreaker questions like that. I think I'm not the biggest fan of acorns, so I don't know. But if I'm a squirrel, I mean, I would probably go nuts because I feel like I've been really hungry recently. So yeah.
You heard it here for her first, folks. Clariss will go nuts for me.
All right, there you go. You got it. You got it on the podcast, man.
All right. Well, today, like this whole season so far, we're only going to be discussing one film, and today we're going to be discussing Searching, a 2018 film with John Cho as the lead. So Searching is a 2018 mystery thriller film directed by Aneesh Chaganty in his feature debut. Written by Chaganty and Sev Ohanian and produced by Timur Bekmambetov. Set entirely on computer screens and smartphones, the film follows a father, played by John Cho, trying to find his missing 16-year-old daughter, played by Michelle La, with the help of a police detective, played by Deborah Messing. This was the first mainstream Hollywood thriller headlined by an Asian American actor. So this was on my list, and Clariss also chose it. So Clariss, why did you choose this film from my watch list?
I was interested for a couple of reasons, primarily because I remember when this film debuted, some notable reviewers that I watched, like Chris Tuckman, Jeremy Jans, were all kind of raving about Searching. And particularly because I actually just wrapped a collab that'll be coming out later this month where I watched the Blair Witch Project for the first time. I was really interested in watching something that's playing off of that found footage style or internet, like telling a story through a different medium. And because I just heard that this movie does it well, I was most interested in that aspect. I knew it was a thriller, and I've always found that, especially with the pandemic now, doing Zoom films, like I was telling you off camera, I wrapped a Zoom film earlier this year. You know, we're seeing more of this medium of telling stories through the internet devices that we use to communicate. And so that really intrigued me about Searching. And that's what got me interested and why I picked it.
Awesome. The reason why this was on my list is because I want to say I'm that huge of a fan of John Cho, but I am.
Yes.
I do follow his work, except for Cowboy Bebop.
John Cho. Yeah, no,
I'm not watching Cowboy Bebop.
No.
But other than that, I was also intrigued by the fact that this is the first Hollywood thriller. This is gonna mess me up. Thriller. With an Asian American actor as the lead.
Yes.
And when I was thinking about that, I'm like, wait, is that true? Because like,
yes, that's bizarre.
It's like a whole, maybe like a century, at least a century worth of movies from Hollywood, and this is the first one with an Asian American lead for a thriller, for a movie like this. And
it's bizarre, like, and
yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And he's a really good lead. Like
absolutely, he's incredible. I love John Cho in this.
And do you remember this tweet he made? I'm not sure if he made the tweet, but basically someone famous said like, get John Cho as like a superhero, or whatever, or cast him as a superhero.
Yeah,
and they'll
I do remember that.
They'll like Photoshop him as like a superhero in like a lot of Marvel properties and like DC Comics properties. I guess that's kind of like what started like the I don't want to say trend, because usually trends die. That's what started like I can't find another better word. The trend of like getting more diverse actors into like lead films.
Yes, absolutely. I think Ki Kwan, and I'm sorry if I pronounce his name wrong, but from Everything Everywhere All at Once. You've seen that film, right? Yeah. Amazing. Great film. Yeah. And Ki Kwan said something about how that's what inspired him to go back into acting was he saw Crazy Rich Asians.
Yeah.
And was like, wait, there is a place for people that look like me as leading roles. And then I
Hmm.
remember from, I don't follow Twitter much, but I do remember what you're talking about John Cho, where it's like, yes, it's only about painting that visual first for the audiences and then they see it happening. But if you don't
Hmm.
have that first person that introduces it to you, that takes that chance and says, here, let's hire an Asian American actor to be, and I'm sure they probably, I don't know. I do not know, but I don't know if they had in mind to hire an Asian American actor to begin with. But just
Hmm.
speaking on diversity, it's like when you think of let's hire someone that's not the typical norm and let's put them in a leading role, that's really all the audiences need. And then as long as you know you tell a good story, your film's good and you do
Yeah.
a good job, then audiences are like, wait, why haven't we seen this? Why don't we do this more often? And so I like that actors like Hee Kwan, like, something like like Crazy Rich Asians, as much as you could think of it what you will, does something for those people. And that's, the power of representation, which is awesome.
Yeah, and it's crazy because like the Goonies, almost all the male actors that were on that movie have gone on to have successful careers,
Yes.
and they're like
Yes.
enriched by the community. Like everyone loves them. They're like
Yes.
some of them are in Marvel movies, except for him because he had
Yes.
difficulty finding lead roles that weren't stereotypical of Asian characters. And
Exactly.
that's why he kind of gave it up until he saw Crazy Rich Asians, and that always like disheartens me.
It's so,
It breaks
yes.
my heart when I hear that. Like, bro, like he wanted to do it, and you can see he could still do it.
Oh,
He did it
absolutely.
extremely well.
Incredible acting. Something I saw recently is thinking about it. It's like, imagine how much, great art was robbed from us because we didn't have him for 20 years. Because
Right.
he's clearly brilliant. It's like, imagine the work of Josh Brolin, Sam
Mhm.
Astin, who are all
Oh my
from the
gosh.
Goonies, who've created amazing work. And now here's another talented actor that just went by the wayside because of this issue. So it's really nice to, as disheartening as it is that that time has passed and that's what it cost, now hopefully we can start anew. And something like Searching, where you're seeing John Cho do his thing and it's so great. It's like, give me more of these kinds of films, please.
All right, so let's get back onto topic with Searching. Let's not go all over the place because even as
Mhm.
much as a good discussion, I will have to edit this later.
Yes. I know,
So
he
with
told me about it,
Searching,
guys.
what was fun
He
fact?
told me. I'm trying to be very,
Fun
very
fact,
mindful
guys.
of what I say.
I did like features of like Latinos who've been guests on the podcast for Hispanic Heritage Month and for International Podcast Day. And a fun fact to put for Clariss is that she's the reason why I have time limits on my episodes now.
Yeah.
Because the full episode that's available to listen to now, it's 2 hours and 20 minutes. But
Oh
the
my
full
God.
discussion was like 3 hours, maybe give or
Yeah.
take. So
I'm being very
yeah,
mindful. I'm being very
yeah, I
mindful.
had more time then. I don't know. I don't now.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. The props of success. You run out of time and you got to do things quicker.
So for Searching, what was your first thought when you were watching the movie?
I think my first thought, because I don't know if I had seen the trailer, but I had seen reviews about it, like non-spoilery reviews a while ago. So I knew coming in that this was a missing person story. But I think the beginning, that montage, the whole journey of this family in the first 5 minutes of this film, immediately it hit this wave of nostalgia for me that
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, they've nailed this. And it got me so much more intrigued into the story because it's like the sound, the computer sound, the dun dun, like we all, if you're of a certain age, we all experience that, like
Mm-hmm.
internet, like Windows Explorer, the screensavers, like we've experienced all of this, or at least I did growing up. And so it brought on this wave of nostalgia that just very effectively connected. Okay, this is a family, watch their whole journey, this is what they're living in now. And I think that was just such a beautifully effective form of exposition that is like, it does the same thing that any old montage does. It was just told in such a new way that I found it refreshing, and it got me really excited for what I was about to see in the movie.
Yeah. So that first scene, when you see the grassy hill, is the most probably the most viewed picture around the world.
Yes.
Because of
I was
it's
like,
Windows
ah,
XP, man.
I
And
know.
as far as like the the montage, like it's a very well done montage. I kept thinking of Up when I was watching that, and
Yes.
when I listened to
Literally down to the dead wife. Like
exactly right. At least, but this time they had a kid, so
yeah. Mm-hmm.
I did some more research into Aneesh, who was the director of this film. He
Mm-hmm.
worked at Google before going on this film, and so
Oh.
he was a part of all those Google commercials that you see of people like searching stuff online. So that's where he
Yeah.
learned how to do that, like how to emote
That's
through like the clickers and stuff like that. It's because he
That's
learned it from Google.
amazing. The whole time I was wondering because, like this is not the first of these kinds of films made before, but the others are done so poorly or they just don't have the rights to use the actual thing. So they have to use like a
Yeah,
fake Google, a fake
let's
Bing.
use Bing.
And yeah, or they use Bing and it just ruins the reality of it because we're all humans that live in this place. Like we know we're going to Google it. Like you're not on Bing. And so it was really nice because everything from Google, from the Facebook, from the iPhone, like it was so on point. I bought the reality of it. And
Hmm.
that just, again, it just continued the illusion because I think movies like this are very interesting, have the potential to be very compelling, but they run the risk of breaking the suspension of disbelief so quickly
Yeah.
because it's things we know every day. So it's like, well, if the iPhone doesn't match up, if the iCloud, if the iMessage isn't right, because we know exactly what these things look like, it's just like, oh, right, this is a movie, as opposed to being immersed in the story. So that's
Definitely.
super awesome that he was able to learn all of that because I was wondering about it the whole time. I'm like, how'd you do this? It's so accurate.
So, and another thing that I saw that people probably didn't notice, but like when David's on his work computer, he's using Linux, and
Yeah.
the cross message thing so he was able to use his iPhone on his Linux computer thing.
Hmm.
That's not a real thing. That's not a real app, and
That's yeah.
people who don't use Linux, which is like most of the world, wouldn't know that.
Oh, okay. That's cool. I was wondering because I didn't know if that was real or not, but it worked.
Yeah, so I want to ask you, did you like feel like any vibes towards like any other type of genre when you were watching this film?
As opposed to what genre? Like,
As opposed to like what you saw this as.
oh,
As opposed to like the thriller, did you like feel like any other type of genre?
I mean, I think on one part it became investigation, which can go hand in hand on thriller, but I
Mm,
think on top of that suspense, like a suspense thriller more so, towards the middle into the third act when we start thinking that the case is closed and
mm-hmm.
also the tensions of John Cho's character, and you can just see that like continuous like cogs are turning and this man is on edge, and it led for a lot of heated tension and suspense in a lot of scenes, and then towards the end it almost becomes a whodunit.
Yeah.
Like that was the one thing that and we'll probably chat about it later, but that was the one thing that kind of stuck with me is towards the end it became almost like a whodunit because it had a whodunit-esque finally wrap up of the whole case. And I was like, okay, I wasn't expecting this, but okay, I'm
Yeah.
with it because they've done such a good setup throughout the whole thing. So I was like, you know what, I'm good with this.
Yeah, I will say for me, it gets to a part where the missing person case becomes public and now
Hmm.
everyone is talking about it. And when it came up to that part, it felt like I was listening to a true crime podcast, something
Yes,
like Serial.
yes,
And
agreed, yes.
so that's what it felt like to me. And especially with recent stories happening of like of Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt's divorce, like and
Hmm.
like the accusations going on, and everyone has like their own side to the story, even though they weren't involved with what
Hmm.
happened with that family. They nailed that.
Oh,
They nailed it. It was perfection the way they nailed it, like on
absolutely. I
screen.
would When I tell you I was fucking fuming. I was literally like the bullshit. Like it's so much fucking bullshit. Like I love, and that was one of the things that interested me about the story, about this movie to begin with, is I remember watching like a review of some YouTuber reviewing this movie, and they're talking about because it takes place through social media apps, it makes a commentary about that when a serious case that, you know, this is a girl, this is a human being, and you see in the beginning how no one gave a shit about
Right.
Margot. And
Mm.
then now, because her name has become a title and a hashtag, now so many people are invested in making up lies like, oh, she was my best friend. Like, oh my God, fucking fuming.
That one,
Fucking
that had me
fuming.
Oh my gosh. I was like, you liar.
Yes.
Liar. Like you saw how she was in the beginning when she didn't even care that she was missing.
She did not care.
Did not care. Could not give a hoot.
A literal hoot. Speaking of hoot, are we swearing? Are we not allowed to swear? I just needed to
I don't care at this point.
All right, because you said hoot. So I'm like, okay, is it euphemisms only? All right. Either way, like the level of fucks that any of them gave flew away into the internet during the entire when his character's name is David, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I literally just saw the film a couple of hours ago, so I'm really still fuming on it. But the entire investigation, finding her friends. Also, I love how they chose to do that. Like from the charts, from it was great. And I remember
his own investigation. He's like, I will find her.
Literally, and I love it, and it was great. But I love the fact that I like that the story follows some dead ends. Continuing on that with the bullshit of people taking on the social media aspect and trying to publicize and get clout from it, which is really twisted. But we all know we've seen that. We've seen that in, it's the very thing you were talking about, where these celebrities have these cases and things like parasocial relationships, and all of a sudden people are putting in their 2 cents. So you have nothing to do with anything.
Honestly. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I just remembered I really liked the one where they followed the dead end of that one guy, Derek Ellis or something, who was always posting. And then finally he was like, where were you? And then it just cuts to the chart and it just goes, Bieber concert.
Confirmed.
It was so great. I'm like, yes.
Oh my gosh. That was a hilarious one. And the part that really got me was there's a newscast that reporting in the neighborhood, and there's a woman, probably a mom in the neighborhood. She's like, it's probably not my business, but usually these things start at the home, when they suspected that she was doing dealing drugs, whatever. Yes. And I'm like, it's not your business. So why are you commenting on that?
Literally. It's
and be like, that happens every day though.
It does.
It's even much more common nowadays. I'll be honest, I kind of do this myself. You know, I would quote see people okay, but where were you on this day? I'll be like, as a joke. But some people are very serious, accusatory of these things, because they suspect that they did something, even though they have no basis, and they're not connected to it at all. You know?
Yeah, and and also what stinks with that is, I like that you mentioned that, because, and I've seen it with recent news, is that because of social media, one person who is completely detached from the story, has no involvement whatsoever, one person's speculation can become an entire community's fact without evidence, and then that can lead to very, very real bullying, persecution, accusations. It can lead to so much when one person just put in their 2 cents, and now a real human's life. It makes me think of when people were thinking David killed his daughter. It's they have no basis. There is no reason behind why they should think that he did that. And now David is getting these kinds of attacks. And it's a very, very real thing that people do now, because it's so much easier for people to say whatever thought comes to their mind, because social media opens the way for that. Opens the door for that.
Yeah, it's why most people block the comments on the YouTube videos. I know I do.
Oh, really? You block comments?
On specific videos.
Oh, okay.
On specific videos, because it gets to a point where people are saying the same thing over and over again, and I just don't want to. It's not I don't have the energy to reply to them. I just don't want to engage at all. So I just block the comments, so I don't see it anymore.
I gotcha.
But I was writing in my notes as that whole sequence is going on. I said, fucking hate the voyeurism of true crime. And this is a topic that's I'm very, how do I say this? I don't like how true crime has become a genre. Um,
Oh, okay.
it's
Mm-hmm.
a very popular genre, but I don't
Yes, it
like how
is.
it's become entertainment at this point
Yes,
because there are actual victims and
exactly.
people they used to do this thing where like they'll protect the identities of the victim by changing the names
Yeah.
and like changing the names to protect like the family and like also like the families of the victims basically, but they
Yeah,
don't do that anymore because
they
social
don't.
media they just like they want the clout whatever.
Yeah.
But like during the as of this recording, the Jeffrey Dahmer series on Netflix
Yep.
like has recently come out, and there's been like a huge controversy over that because
Mm-hmm.
the director did not. How do I say this? Basically,
Dramatize the deaths.
yeah,
Yeah.
basically,
Mm-hmm.
like he showed exactly how it happened. He did not care to like dramatize it at all. He just showed exactly how it happened.
Oh,
Um,
I have
and
not
so
seen the Dahmer
it
series, so I
just
don't.
re-traumatized the families of the victims, you know.
Oh.
And there's like a court case. There's like the court scene where like this one sister of one of the men that Dahmer killed, she like reacts like heavily to him, and it was recorded for TV, right?
Yeah.
And then there's an actress who records the exact same mannerisms, exact same speech
Oh.
as she did, and I'm just like, this woman, her brother
Yeah.
died, and you're using it for entertainment now. You're exploiting the victims. You're exploiting the
Yeah. You're
and you
exploiting the families as well.
and
Families
not
that
even
are very
notifying
much
them.
still
They're not
alive.
getting paid. Why would they want to get
Yeah.
paid for their child's or their family's deaths at the
Yeah.
hands of this serial killer? So that's what I mean by like I hate the voyeurism true crime because it's just become entertainment at this point.
Yeah, no,
And
I
yeah,
totally understand that line of thinking and that viewpoint because it's true. Like as someone who I enjoy the history of true crime, but when it comes to entertainment, you know, there is that fine line because there's the glorification aspect too that Hollywood
yes.
likes to sensationalize, and it's like that does a disservice greatly to the families when you take like with the Dahmer series, you take a story of people whose lives are still affected by this and
Hmm.
you're putting it back out there, and you know it's true, it's quite voyeuristic, and it's very difficult, it's a very difficult thing to look at because there is so many people that love true crime, and then there's also a very odd peculiar side to it where it's like almost like a entertainment of the sadism
Yeah.
where they're like, oh no, show me this, or I want to see like this kind of thing happen to people and all this, like tell me someone who did that, and it's like that's a whole different level of, that's a whole other conversation when people compare these like serial killers and their specific killings and all of that within true crime. It's just yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that's how I felt about that scene.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you, what theories did you have throughout the movie? Like, what happened to her and who was like hurting her? What was your theories like as you were watching the movie? I had a couple of my
I
own.
Okay, I'm excited to hear some of yours because I think just throughout the whole movie, I just didn't want to believe she was dead. And I
Yeah.
think that's just my immediate connection to David. Like, I think, like him as an audience member, I was just like, I don't want to believe that she's dead. And because of the way that the film kept alluding, like, kept the way that the film kept foreshadowing everything, I feel like the actual, like, crafted storytelling behind the film also cemented that fact that it's like she's not dead, because there were a couple of times where you hear that she's dead or you hear the idea that she might be dead, and I kind of like paused and I saw that I still had 30 minutes left. I'm like, no, no, she's not. I have 30 minutes left. And then like 10 minutes left, they say she's dead. I'm like, nope, I have 10 minutes left. I'm like, something's happening. And in the literal last like 5 minutes, I'm like, I fucking told you. I knew it. I knew it. But I think the biggest one that I bought, like the line of thread that they threw at us that I did bite onto, was the brother. Like
Yeah.
when they had Peter on, I was kind of like, whoa, wait. But then the more like before he admitted that it was weed, I put together in my brain, I was like, no, is like he had pot in the first scene. Like he was probably just like getting her high because she was going through a lot of shit. Like that's what I thought. And again, because I was
He
looking at
had
how
a
much
big
time
jar.
he did. He
big
had a
jar.
gigantic jar of pot. So I was like, he's not smoking that all on his own, or maybe he is, but I don't know. But I think other than that, I didn't see the detective like until the end. Like it makes sense, and they did that kind of who done it type of thing. But I did definitely have a theory that when the convict like confessed, I did think that was bullshit. Like that
Yeah,
one,
honestly.
I was like, no, that's some fucking bullshit. Like you are not
Right.
about to tell me in this movie, the moment after we get a scene where someone talks about, oh, let's accept the fact that it could have been a stranger that just happened. It was unlucky place. You are not about to tell me that we get that scene and then the movie says, oh yeah, a stranger did it. I'm like, no,
Nah.
I'm not buying it. The storytelling editing is too smart for this. But those are
Yeah.
mine. What were yours?
All right, so this is gonna sound crazy, but okay. First about that stranger guy. The moment he came on screen, I'm like, he did not do it. That was not.
Yeah.
He looks too much of a stranger danger to have actually done it. Okay,
Oh,
and the
really?
lighting
Like,
was
he's
perfect.
just-
He was in
yeah.
HD. Okay, high def, like at least 4K. And with the shadow and the lighting, like no. This guy looks too much of a creep to not be the creep.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
But yeah, I did think the brother did it a little bit because that's like the hints they gave us to it. But then I was like you said, like the weed thing. But here's the thing. I kind of knew it was the crush because listen, when David first opens Pam's address book on her computer, the very first contact had Robbie in there because his last name is like an A, and it said in the notes like in her class has always had a crush on her. I'm like, I caught that first time I saw that. The first time.
I'm proud of you. That is some very keen investigative.
And I didn't even pause it either. I just saw it in the notes like, hey,
Okay.
quick. I didn't even pause it. Like, listen, because I'm listening to you, Clarice. You said like you paused it to see you had 10 minutes left. No, I did not cheat, Clarice. I have too much respect for the game to not cheat.
Dang,
okay.
Coming from me with my little.
Because when it felt like it was over, I'm like, no, it's not over. She's not dead. I also had that same line of thinking like, nah, she's not dead.
Yeah.
Because in the beginning,
I respect it.
They showed the news article. It said trapper trapped in the Everglades for 9 days survived, and that was the big one.
Did you catch that shit on the first watch?
The first watch, and when it rained, I'm like, when it rained on the second day of the searching,
it did, yeah.
The second day for searching, I'm like, that's water right there. So like, if she was thirsty, she has water right there. I didn't know how many days it had been, but I knew that specific days she would need water, and yeah. But like as soon as I saw the detective, like, how's it the detective? Like, oh, it's because it's her son, and then it made more sense. But I always thought it was the crush. Like the first moment I saw that, I'm like,
wow,
yeah, because the catfishing, man, it's real.
No, it's true. That's what I was gonna say. Is I will say the moment that she said like, yes, even fish and chips. Like when she was like, yes, we called her. Yes, it was fine. Something felt fishy about that.
Right.
Like there was just something in the air. And maybe it's a credit to Deborah Messing's acting, where there was something about just the way that the detective said it, who was like, yes, we looked at all of these. Yes, I know who you're thinking was the person. No, they didn't line up. And I was like, but how don't they line up though?
Exactly.
That was my thought is I'm like, but I can smell a catfish. Like, this is
what's crazy? You know what's crazy? The school mascot at Margot's high school, guess what it is? A catfish. That's on purpose.
Like they absolutely did that. And I love that attention to detail about this movie. I think it's part of what makes it incredibly effective and smart at what it's trying to do is that level of attention to detail. I love the fact that you noticed something on your first watch that probably I would need to watch a couple of times, but you can tell that they're feeding in these little lines of threads. And like a good effective story, some of those lines lead to dead ends, but then some of them, if you follow them through, connect the entire way. And it's great.
Yeah, and another thing that I was thinking, because it was a little suspect, but I didn't suspect the detective. I just thought she was like kind of bad at her job. is like the photos on what's her name? The daughter's Tumblr.
Margot. Uh-huh.
Margot, yep. On
Oh,
her
on her
Tumblr.
Tumblr.
You see like the lake, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I'm just thinking like just get the
How
metadata for that. Get the
Yeah,
metadata.
literally get the metadata. That's what I thought of too.
Like
When the
that's
dad when the
right?
dad put it together, I'm like, how did the cops not how do you not it's so obvious. Like that's the
Mm.
same lake. I
And
didn't
the
understand
same
that.
thing with the UCAS thing where
Hmm.
they said they looked at every single
It's
thing.
like,
I'm like, no, you didn't.
no, you
No,
didn't.
you
There's
got
literally
lazy.
uh-huh. But the thing is, sorry, I'm like finishing a cough drop. The thing with that is though, just to again give more credit to the writing and the
Mhm.
direction, is that none of that makes sense, or that could be seen as a plot hole without the final reveal. But
Mhm.
the final reveal gives that merit because it's like, well, we're thinking, well, why aren't the cops looking at it? We're like, oh, because they don't want to, because it's incriminating. And it's like, oh, that makes sense. It's just smart storytelling. Stupid choices, but they have a reason why they're
Right,
stupid.
right. So this is gonna sound a little, I don't know, maybe it might sound controversial, but if you listened to my podcast before, you know my feelings on this. The
Hmm.
moment, the only moment I didn't suspend my disbelief
Hmm.
was when the detective Vic got convicted, like she was arrested and she went to jail. Because I'm just thinking like, when is the last time a white female cop like
Oh.
was held responsible for her actions? Like
Mm.
when's the last time? Like wasn't there like this one woman, like this LA cop, she killed a
Mhm.
man because she was threatened because he was holding a box cutter and she shot him like 9 times and she never got
Yep.
convicted and
Yep.
eventually became like an influencer in the gun community. But yeah, there's just so many stories
Oh,
of how
absolutely.
police don't hold accountability for
No, and
themselves.
yeah, absolutely. And I do think that that was one of the parts where it's like towards the end and kind of going back on this like who done it where um like speaking on that I did think where I'm like, well, if she did it, I'm like, is the rest of the police department
Mm-hmm.
going to come for her? And then when they did, I'm like, okay, so we're living in this kind of world where this will happen and a conviction will happen because it's true. I'm like, well, the defense like the fact that she's all like, oh, I was doing this and for my son and all this, like if they really wanted to, they could absolutely sweep it under the rug. And I feel like that would be a very different kind of story. But I do think because I feel like the conviction pays to an aspect of them finding Margot, because had she not been, then David wouldn't have thought about the 2 days, and then they actually find her.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I definitely get what you mean. I wasn't thinking that in the moment, because I think again I was sold in the suspension of the film. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
You know, I
like
always think about that stuff,
yeah.
and I didn't notice this until after I finished college. But in college, well, university, I made 3 short films, and they were all
Mm-hmm.
making fun of cops. I didn't
Oh,
realize that until like after I graduated. I'm like, huh, I guess I have a thing for that.
oh,
I just don't like
maybe.
cops.
Maybe, yeah. Seems that way. I will say, and that was part of it. Is I do have to give some credit into give credit to Deborah Messing because I
Oh yeah,
think she's balancing a lot of different things because you can tell the genuine concern that she does have, but on the flip side, she's also giving him the runaround. Like the entire movie, she's giving him the runaround, and just as the actress, she has to be constantly aware of what her hand is and keeping that close to her chest while revealing some things, but not too much. And I think she does a really good job at
she did a very good job as the anti-Columbo.
it.
So yeah, I really liked in the end where, well, there were some talks during production where John Cho asked Aneesh, the director, "Are we going to have like the final scene as like a regular film, or are we just going to continue doing what we've been doing?"
Yeah. Hmm.
Anish said there's validity to what he's saying about like shooting it regular style, but we'll just keep it as we've been doing. And so that ending, they did a very good job where it's you don't see John Cho or
Hmm.
Michelle La. You don't see them at all. It's just like
Yeah.
just a screen of Margot on her computer,
Yes.
waiting for the results of from her college, and
Yeah.
just him finally saying like, "Well, I'm proud of you, and your and mom would
And
be proud
mom
of you
would be
too."
proud of you too. I literally like as you see the little
The blinking,
screen, I was like, mom would be too. Mom would be too. And then he did it. And I was like,
yeah.
yeah. It made me so happy. Like, pay it off. You set it up and you paid it off. And I think it was I think it was a really nice, like that's the best way they could have ended this movie because at this point your audience has been so invested in the way you're telling the story that I feel like I genuinely think it would have been jarring to just have it in real life with like a 4K resolution, like high definition camera, and like you're seeing them. Like I feel like it would have honestly, for me, I think it would have broken the reality that they,
Yeah.
and I like that all we saw was those little responses. Like there's so much more meaning. I feel like going back to Everything Everywhere, when you can have a scene that makes people laugh and cry that's completely silent about two rocks
Ah.
with text on the screen and it can move you to tears. I feel like in this one you can have a literal screen grab of a text exchange and that can move you to tears if the story is effective. And I like that more movies are exploring that in these last recent years. Like this movie came out in 2018. I love that this is a medium that storytellers are exploring because the ones that do it well, like my gosh, it gets you, man.
Yeah. So, is there anything else you want to talk about before I talk about the production?
Oh, something I'm interested in seeing how you feel about it. But how did you feel about the reveal, like with the detective and this very whodunit, like
Oh,
we've got you monologue that explains everything she did
okay.
in
So,
detail? Like, how did you feel about that part of the
okay.
movie?
So I did like the movie. I gave it like a 3.5 out of 5 stars on Letterboxd. I think it did a good job, but for like the reveal. So here's the thing. I'm a huge mystery fan. Like I grew up watching this stuff like as a kid.
Oh,
I
okay.
I, I discussed this in my last episode with Ryan, aka Rival Reacts. Because we
Mm-hmm.
watched Knives Out. Um,
Nice.
and I said this then too. It's nothing I haven't seen before, right?
Yeah.
it,
Mm-hmm.
it and also it felt like a cop out.
Yeah, like slightly. Yeah.
I'm like, really? Like, okay.
Yes.
It felt like stretching it just like a little bit too much. And that's how I felt about it. Like, it just felt like stretching just a little bit too much of the imagination. And that's what I felt like about it. That's as much as I can say. Deborah Messing did a very wonderful, like you said, she did a wonderful job in this film. And she is like one of the, I don't want to say one of the only ones, but one of the actors that was very much for this film. Like she knew about the concept, so she was very much for this film. And
Oh,
so she was
nice.
excited when she was doing this, and you could see it in her work in this film. She did a very good job. But as far as like the story and the reveal, eh,
Yeah.
eh,
Yeah.
that's how I feel.
Yeah, no, I fully get that. That's kind of what, like, that's the only thing that's left with me in this film that I'm like, had that been written better, I feel like this would have been like a even higher tier film
Right,
for me because that's the only thing where it's like my suspension of disbelief was almost cut where I'm like, oh, okay, this is what we're doing. Because I understand that yes, maybe there were aspects and seeds that they sowed for her doing it, and it makes sense. It's more of just the very classic like monologue of like, yes, and now I'm gonna tell you how I did it. And it honestly feels almost like she becomes a whole different character for this
right,
one scene. And I'm like, but she wasn't, I'm like, but she's not a psychotic murderer. Like
right.
this is a woman who, okay, if she did it to protect her son, but why is she saying this like mother dearest, like
Right, and that's the
Norman
thing.
Bates mom type, like my son is a it didn't make sense to what was set up, and that bothered me because I'm like, like I don't
Because
know.
like
I don't know.
if
Other
she
than
cared
word
so much
than
about her son, she could have just like gone in place for him. But like I wanted to talk to her because I knew he was catfishing her, and I accidentally pushed her off the cliff. But I guess she also didn't want to go to jail
Yeah, but the thing is she did. Like it says that that's what she wanted to take all of the blame so that her son
Hmm.
wouldn't go to jail. So maybe she hammed it up. If she hammed it up, then that's technically kind of layered. But
Hmm.
but it's still just very like, why are you going like mother dearest on us in
Right,
like the
right.
very last act when this wasn't
It
like,
wasn't present in the
that
film at
wasn't
all.
present. It wasn't present in the film. Like
I
you
mean, I will
buy.
say there was one scene. Actually, there's two things because in
Mhm.
the Facebook profile that David sees, in the banner
Yes.
it says
Yes.
a mother's love for her
Mother
child is
love
unlike
for her
anything
child.
else,
I caught that
and,
too. And I was kind
and
of like,
the profile picture is her and her son. So
mm-hmm,
there's that. They gave that hint. And the second
mm-hmm.
thing is like when she told the story of her son
Of her
robbing
son.
people for the
Exactly.
nonprofit, and
Mm-hmm.
she protected him and saying like, "Oh
Yeah,
no, I made it up. I that's something I just invented."
absolutely. And those two scenes are perfect because they're meant to set that up. Like one is more subtle and the other is more direct. I think it's just
The
for
way it
me,
went out.
it's just the way it played out that doesn't, because
Yeah.
I'm like, if you fed me the same story and just the performance and the dialogue, like the actual script was different, I would buy it more. Like I think
Hmm.
just for that scene, it was specifically the execution where it just
Right.
became like, oh, she is crazy. Like it felt very like, oh, she's kind of crazy. And I was like, but she was so well rounded for the rest of the movie. Why'd you have to do
Exactly.
that to her? Like that's my thinking. I'm like,
Yeah,
why'd you
you
have
said
to
it
do
better
that
than
to
I
this
could.
character?
It was just like the way the turn face heel,
Hmm.
Um, that's what I felt about it. This is the segment where we talk about the production of this film. So I want to talk about the conception and the pitch for this movie. So
Gotcha.
the
Do you mind
original
if I pop in another cough drop? I'm beginning to lose my voice. Is that okay?
you could have done it and not interrupt me. Nah, just kidding.
Keep that in the podcast, please.
I would have just muted you and in post because I know how to do that.
Okay. Well, I was just asking just in case.
Yeah, you're good. You're
Okay.
good. uh,
Okay.
see that's the character execution. Like Jason wasn't like this before. Why is he like this
There you
now?
go. Look
Yeah.
at you. Mm.
So the original conception for this movie was for an 8-minute short film.
Ooh,
Aneesh
I could see
Chaganty,
that.
he was going to be the director, and Sev Ohanian was like the co-writer and producer for this film. They pitched the concept to the Basilev's company, and the company liked it so much they suggested that it could be expanded into a feature film, and they're going to give him a lot more money. And Sev was like all for it. He
Mm-hmm.
was like open to the offer and saw its potential. But Chaganty, the director, he was hesitant. He's like, I'm not so sure. And
Mm-hmm.
Sev is like, dude, are you fucking crazy? They're giving you a lot more money and you're a first time director. Take the offer. But the reason why he didn't want to do it is because he didn't want it to feel too gimmicky. Like he just
Uh-huh.
didn't know how he was going to be able to stretch it into
That's
like
exactly
a
what I would
90
think.
minute
That's
film.
that's the same thing I would think, especially with it's such a constant, and I don't mean to
You
go
get
too long on it, but it's just as someone who has worked on short films, I've seen the way that a contained vision for a short film is on purpose. And when you take it and try to expand it into a feature length film, a lot of times, well, not a lot of times, but oftentimes there's just isn't the room to
right.
create the same kind of cohesive, tight story that the original creator intended for that short. Sometimes it can be amazing, I think, like this, where it
Hmm.
went well, but it's true. And that's exactly where my mind would be as well if I was this director. Like, I would be
Definitely.
a bit concerned because I'm like, well, I'm pitching you a short film and you're wanting me to make a feature. That's a very big ask.
Definitely. It's a huge task to go on to undertake too.
Yeah.
So, and I've definitely seen a few feature films that would have been a lot better if they were just short films.
Yeah.
Like I
Some of
won't
them
even I
probably
won't
were short films, honestly.
I won't even talk about them because they were just that bad.
Yeah, I'm not sure if just as a small tidbit, because I did not watch the film because I feel like the trailer basically gave it away. But there is a short film called Cargo, and it is
Mm,
an amazing, have you heard of it?
I've heard of it. Yeah, I've never
Yeah.
seen it.
It is an incredible short film. I want to say it's maybe like 8, 9 minutes. Literally that film, 8, 9 minutes, I'm crying. Like up introduction for 7 minutes exactly, sobbing. It's amazing. And then Netflix purchased I don't know if they purchased
The
the rights
rights?
or whatever,
Yeah.
and then they made a 90-minute film about it. And I was like, why? Why did you have to? Like, the art that was made was beautiful and it told the story it needed to. Why do we now have 90 minutes of the same story we were already moved by? Like, we didn't
Right.
need it. And yeah.
But yeah, that's what he was concerned about. And then they
Hmm.
later like thinking about it, and Chaganty he had like an idea for like the first 7 minutes, which is like the montage. And then he got on a call with Ohani and he pitched the exact same idea. And then they're like, oh, we have something here. And so they actually moved forward with the feature.
Okay.
And John Cho deleted the film. He turned down the role of David Kim the first time because
Hmm.
he didn't feel like it was going to be possible. And it wasn't like towards like
Hmm.
Gigante. He just never seen something like that before, and he wasn't sure how it was going to look like on screen.
That makes
But
sense.
he later said he was impressed by how human it felt, the film.
Hmm.
And like I said before, actress Deborah Messing, she loved the idea when she first read it, and she was like all for it.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah.
That is awesome. As a Deborah Messing fan, I love that she was on board from the beginning. That's great.
So a little bit about Anisha's background. He was 25 when this film was written. I hate hearing that shit, man.
I do too, because I'm currently writing, like, am in the middle of writing a short film that is very much takes from these aspects, and I am 25. So let's see where it goes.
I I've had this conversation before. This is exact same conversation where
Hmm.
in season 2 with my friend Zach Yell. We were talking about Citizen Kane, and
Ah,
I'm like,
oh
bro,
yeah,
this
Orson
was
Welles.
that was his first film.
His first
He
movie is
directed, he wrote in it, he starred in it
starred in it
at 25, and it's considered one of the best films of all time.
of all time.
And what was I doing at 25? I was in the
Literally.
pandemic. I'm in a podcast.
Basically. Yeah. Hey, but that is something, and that's more than most.
Thank you.
Hmm.
Appreciate that. But yeah, he was 25 when this film was written. But he worked at Google before this role. He said
Hmm.
he believed that Google is what prepared him for this role. It's where
Oh
he
yeah.
said he learned to emote using computer screens, and he learned to see what love looks like with a cursor button, and
Wow.
how you can feel how never someone looks, even though you're looking at a blinking cursor.
You can tell that he's a writer. Literally
Mm.
from that quote. I'm like, so you write because that is beautiful. Like, that is so just literarily, like, it's said so profoundly. It's like, do you write? It's like, yeah, of course you do. So that quote made me think of, but that makes so much sense when you look at older Google ads. They really do have to create this connection to you with images, that because how do you make two-dimensional code space emotive and emotional,
Right.
and absolutely it makes sense why he was able to do this so well. That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
honestly
And like you
awesome.
said before, this isn't the first type of its film. I remember years ago, maybe 2014, there was a horror movie where if
Unfriended.
like, yes, that's the one.
Yes.
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen
That's the
it,
one
but
I think of.
I like the idea behind it, that they
Hmm.
tried something unique, and I guess that's what drew me to searching as well, because I'm always looking towards like original stories,
Hmm.
and also unique ways of filmmaking. And speaking of unique ways, so and for pre-production, they hired editors and started editing 7 weeks before shooting, right? So they went to the edit room, they started completely blank and on a Premiere timeline, and they just started screen capturing the internet, and they started
Oh.
shooting iMessages at each other. That's my dog. I think my parents got home. Hold on, give me 1 second.
Hmm. All right, you were talking about pre-production.
Yeah, so they were shooting iMessages at each other,
Hmm.
and he took photos of Anish. And 7 weeks later, there was a 1 hour and 45 minute cut of the entire film, starring Anish in every single role of the
Oh my
film,
god, that's amazing.
and in a very low quality film. And by the time they
Oh
were
my
ready to start
god.
shooting the movie, they had a cut to show the crew,
Uh-huh.
and so they can know exactly what they're gonna
Oh,
make, and then that
that's
gave them the idea like,
amazing.
oh, this is what we're shooting. Okay,
That's amazing. That's so good. That's
yeah,
literally so freaking smart. That is so smart. Like, it makes me think of how Like it's so unique when artists just collaborating together can be that smart about their pre-production.
Right.
Whereas with, because it makes me think of Severance, you'll know once you see it. I do highly recommend it. It's amazing. It's incredible. But it's the fact that when they were making Severance, multiple of the actors had no idea like what the tone of this thing was. Like one actor thought they were in a completely different type of genre, and then the other thought they were in a completely different type of genre. And then when they were filming scenes, they're like, yeah, like what's the tone? Like, what's the tone of what we're going for? And they're like, I don't know. We're trusting the director. We're gonna do something. They're gonna have some stuff. And
Wow.
it ended up paying off and being incredible. But it's the kind where when you can like be that smart early on and give your crew and your creatives an idea of like, okay, this is what we're going for, that's just so much more effective. And I think it shows in the movie.
For sure. For sure. And Ohanian, the producer of the film, he said he doesn't think this movie would have been possible with anyone but someone like Anish because he was
Mm.
making the film for the first time and they broke so many rules. And
Mm.
it just helped with the fact that Anish didn't even know the rules to begin with.
Yes, that's awesome. I love that. Do they mention any about what kind of rules they were breaking?
I don't think no, they don't mention it because it was
Mm.
part of like the special feature on the DVD. I think one of
Oh,
those
okay.
rules is to not have the antagonist do a complete turn face heel.
Oh, wait, what? What do they mean
Like
by that? Sorry.
that's my own interpretation. Like
Oh, okay.
don't make her become like a completely different character when she
Oh, I
reveals
got you.
everything.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's one of my
Mm-hmm.
rules, but that's my interpretation of what they meant by that. And
Mm-hmm.
as far as like the devices they shot on, they shot on the various devices. They shot on
That's what I would
GoPros,
think.
drones, news helicopters, mini DV cameras, webcams, and even
Nice.
Chiganti's iPhone. So like the iPhone that they're using for the movie, that's his iPhone. That's the director's
I
iPhone.
love it. That's so good. Like I love that level of creativity because it's like the thing is I like the comment they mentioned about the rules because it makes me think of big budget directors attempts at this
Right.
where it makes me think of a Unsane by I can't remember if it was Soderbergh that
I think
did
it's
it.
Soderbergh.
It's Soderbergh, I'm
I think
pretty
so.
sure. Yeah, exactly. It's Soderbergh. And then it also makes me think of Fincher and how Fincher did this film. I am thinking about it because I saw a wonderful YouTube analysis video about it, where Fincher did his film Mank. That is basically speaking of Citizen Kane. Have you seen it?
I've heard of it. I wanted to see it, but
Yeah.
I just never got around to seeing it.
Essentially, I didn't get around to seeing it either, but it was a whole video about how Fincher exclusively films on digital. And he's such a because he's such a meticulous director, he basically renders or CGs or visual effect adds anything extra, but he still remains filming on digital. And Mank is meant to be a film, by his own words, that if you stumbled upon a cinephile library and you saw Citizen Kane, you might find Mank right next to it. And it's the history of creating Citizen Kane.
Mm.
But the thing is, when you look at the film, even just watching like the snippets that I saw in this video essay, I'm like, this looks like a film that was made in 2020, like or 2019, whatever was made. I'm like, the shots, the lighting, like everything about it. You could CG on all the grain and the film and all this to make it look like it was filmed in the 40s, but it doesn't look like it unless you actually get the technology, you get the actual cameras with the specific lenses to get it to look the way it did back then. You're not going to be able to replicate that. And I like that in this movie you can tell there are certain shots that they filmed on slightly higher quality
Yeah.
cameras, but they really go for it in the grain with filming from actual webcams and iPhones. Like you can tell, and it adds to the realism. It just makes
Another
it
thing
so much
I
more
saw
believable.
was like the photos. Like some of the photos looked like they were used by cameras at that time. There's one specific photo I'm thinking of where it's Pam, the mother, with
Mm-hmm.
Margot when she's a little girl, and it looks exactly like a picture where you have like a disposable camera and the flash.
Yes.
It looked exactly like that. I'm
Yes.
like, you guys
Yes.
paid a lot of detail with that.
Yes. I
Unless it's like an
understand, and
actual
I
photo,
felt that.
unless it's an actual photo used for the film, which is because they use some photos from
Mm-hmm.
the actresses like actual photos. But other than that, that was like, you guys paid attention to that. Like that was really good.
Absolutely. I love the like, and those are the things is I love when artists, because it's not about being completely historically accurate. I think trying to be historically accurate kind of does a disservice to story, because you always have to have some level of creative liberty. But I love when artists and the team take that extra step to just try to be as accurate as they can be, because it makes a world of a difference. Like
Right.
it just makes a world of a difference. Like the fact that, we're looking at entirely real programs. We're looking at Windows XP. We're looking at Google, and we're looking at the actual software of how it all looks. It's just like, it's that extra. And I'm like, I love it. Thank you. Thank you for doing this.
And another thing I wanted to mention, because this is before the pandemic happened and everyone had like a ring light, for like the scenes where they're using a laptop. So for like the UCast and John Cho's scenes where he's using a laptop, they had lights on the perimeter of the laptop, so it looked like a ring light, but like the lights were on the edges of
Oh,
the computer. I was just thinking like,
yeah.
oh, okay, that's a square light right there.
Yeah. No, that's great. I love that.
And the
Uh,
thing I liked about that is because they use like diffusers on the lights, so they wouldn't be able to have like the outline on the eyes.
yeah.
That's
Oh,
something I
that's
noticed.
great.
That's something
That's
I
great.
noticed
Okay.
because if you see like people like filming with a ring light, you can see the ring light on
Oh,
their eyes.
absolutely. Yeah.
Like I'm not sure you can see it with my actually you can see it with the reflection of my glasses, but it's not on my
Mm-hmm.
eyes,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because I'm using a
Exactly.
diffuser. I'm using a
Mm-hmm.
diffuser for this.
Yeah,
I
that's
know
what
what
I've
I'm
got
doing
going on. Yeah,
somewhat.
look at you. That's what I've got going on all here, but you wouldn't be able to see too many of them unless you look like really
Yeah.
clear into the eyes. Now I'm looking at the camera to see if you can tell.
Nah, I
Yeah.
didn't even notice until you said it.
Yeah, but you'll probably see it more in the HD. But what's nice is, like lighting serves a purpose. You want that light reflection in the eye so you get more expression.
Yeah, and sorry for us because like we have like dark eyes, and so people
But
think
yeah,
we're
it's very
demons.
yeah, it's very important. It's the brown
Started
eye
barking when I said
struggle.
demons.
He knows.
Where was I? Oh, the dark eyes.
Hmm. Yep. We need that extra lighting.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
need it or else we look like demons.
That's what people say about
Yeah.
us, but yeah. So I will say that another thing I found unique about this production is that the scenes between David Kim and Rosemary Vick, where they're talking to each other via Skype or whatever they're using,
Hmm.
it's all shot in the same house. It's all in the same house because it's hard for them to emote with each other because they're looking at a computer screen.
Yeah, of course.
And so they had Cho on one side of the house and Messing at the other side of the house. They just made it look like they're in completely different
Oh,
separate
that's
houses.
amazing. Oh my God. I love that. I actually really love that, just because again, it's funny. I genuinely didn't think of this at all, but I'm just noticing a lot of parallels with the Zoom film that I did, because that is something that we ran into constantly is, when you're doing, and this film, I can't say too much on it, but it is a bit of a investigation cop type story too. The
Mm.
thing is, as much as you want to emote when you're looking at a camera, like, and because the thing is, I find that it is different than the classic form of filmmaking, because when you're filming for a movie, you don't want to look at the camera unless you are intentionally breaking the fourth wall. But in movies like this medium where you're talking to someone, eye lines are so important. And in
Mm.
order to feed it, you have to feed that eye line, which is looking into a camera. But for
Mm.
you, it's looking at a person. But you can't have in a Zoom movie, you can't have the reality, which is if I'm talking to you, Jason, my eye line is looking at you here. I'm not looking there. I'm looking here. And so it doesn't sell the same story. So I love the idea that they worked around that by having them back to back. That's just it's so smart. It's
Yeah.
honestly so smart. The film that we did, we weren't able to because all of us lived in different states.
Yeah.
So we were all in completely different parts of the country, which is also the beauty of more films that are going on these mediums through Zoom and Skype and all these other ones where you can have actors you don't have to be in the same place to make a movie, which is really cool.
Definitely. Oh yeah, Michelle La, Margot. the
Mm-hmm.
woman who played Margot,
Mm-hmm.
she described the filming process as like a logistical nightmare.
Oh God. Wait,
because
why?
you're using so many different devices and you're filming at like at a house and also on location.
Uh-huh.
And for them it was easy because they were just giving the device, but like even with the phones they had like wires attached to it for like a
Uh-huh.
microphone and for lighting.
Oh
It's just
yeah.
it took so long to film it too.
Oh, that's Oh, I wouldn't have
Yeah.
even thought of that.
Yeah,
Wow.
and then Cho said to Anish like halfway through, like, why are we making this so hard on ourselves? Let's just shoot it regular style.
Literally.
Like, why are we making this so hard on
They
ourselves?
just made it extra hard. Oh my God.
So yeah. And the house they shot in was like pretty big.
Okay.
And like I said, it's like one side and the other side. And something they said in the commentary. I didn't watch the full commentary. I only watched the first 20 minutes of the commentary. But basically, they said they didn't know until after they finished shooting it that house was used for like other adult films. So that's
That's
a.
hilarious. So people are gonna probably think on
Wait,
it
I
like,
know that place.
yeah, they're like, wait,
Where
I've
do you know?
seen this place
Somewhere
before.
else. I can't say.
I can't say what it is, but I know it. I know it when I see it. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. That's great.
Also, the thing with like the wide angle lens. So like with webcams, they're very wide angle. So it's like
Yeah.
so like a regular person who doesn't know anything about cameras can still use it. Just get on a webcam and
Mm-hmm.
just able to use it. But the thing is, it's difficult for the they're. It was difficult for them at first because like it's right on one place. They had to stay in frame. And when they moved like
Yes.
side to side, it wasn't anything. But they found that they were able to treat it as like a theater stage. So like when you moved
Mm-hmm.
forward and you moved backward, it just had like an effect. So
Yeah, it
like
has an
when
intention.
yeah, so I
Yeah,
was like, ooh,
absolutely.
of
No,
course, it
it's
makes, of course.
no, it's true. And I will give that to John Cho because that was stuff that I was thinking about again, because having for me with my setup, I have my monitor, my camera monitor right here. And
Mhm.
even with this podcast, when you mentioned like try to not move so much from the mic, I have in my peripheral, I'm constantly watching myself to make sure I'm staying in frame and not moving. Because it's something that actors have to be mindful of, but I like that liberty where again with like doing a Zoom film, you really this frame is all you have to
Mhm.
create. And so with the beauty of this kind of setup is, you know, if you change like your body, like so much about just like your body posture or even like a lean in like says so much about who you are as a person.
Mhm.
And I like how John Cho did it because there's oftentimes you can tell when he starts getting more sporadic and more unhinged with some of the people and their bullshit that like he allows himself to get off frame. Like he'll like his face will peep off frame like people do, but he relatively stays on frame for a lot of the movie, and I like that.
Yeah, I like that too. And John Cho, he put a lot of trust in Anish because one, he's a
Yeah.
first-time director, and this is a very
Yes.
unique type of film that hasn't really been done to this type of
Yeah.
effect before, and so, and also like a lot of the movie is going to be made after he shot his scenes, so
That's true.
he
Yeah.
had to just do his job and be like, "Is
Mm-hmm.
that it? Are we good?" And just leave and just put his trust in him, and yeah, that's John Cho, like he's a professional. You know,
Oh,
he's been doing
absolutely.
this for decades. So like I can see from his side why he was a little unsure of this and why he turned it down the first time. But I'm glad he was eventually able to commit to this role.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the thing he said on the special feature. He said another difficult thing is that you can see your own reflection in the computer screen. I'm
Mm-hmm.
so handsome. It's extremely distracting to see my face. You can only imagine what distraction that must be to see my face. And then they just cut to like the whole crew, not crew, the cast laughing because like they're also interviewed. They told them about that, and then Anish was also laughing because I was like, "What?"
I love that so much. More reasons to love John Cho, man. Like he's so awesome.
And as far as like post production, because we're not
Mm-hmm.
done yet,
Yeah.
putting all the footage that they shot into like the timeline was the biggest technical challenge of the movie
Mm.
because they also had to come up with like the visual effects of coming up with the Facebook pages, the Twitter
Yeah.
timelines, creating profiles for people that made them feel like they were actual people instead of like
Yeah.
stock photo images. And that's a huge credit to them too,
Oh,
because that
absolutely.
with
Like
Derek
with
Ellis, that felt like an
yeah,
actual
that felt like
profile.
a person. And the thing is, a lot of it is in the small details, like the photos. The
Right.
photos of
That's
these
what I'm
kids, like
saying
those
too.
look like a kid took a bad selfie and
Right.
put like 3 filters on it. And the thing
There.
is, I'm thinking about it because I'm like, a lot of that technology isn't quite obsolete, but it's almost non-existent now. So
Mhm.
it goes to, they have to do research to learn, like, okay, what were those programs? Can we reinstall those programs to edit an image to make it look like what it
Yeah.
was this time ago? And that's insane. Like,
Yeah.
it's
That for me,
insane.
it's definitely like looking at the old websites, how they looked like
Oh,
before. Because I'm
yes.
not sure if you noticed this before, like on the eBay page, it said how to search. Like there's like a link on how to like a hyperlink for how to search. That's how
Uh-huh.
old that website is, because like people didn't know how to
Yes.
search.
Oh
Um,
my gosh.
so yeah, they added that extra detail, and like
Wild.
that's not existent now because we all know how to search by now.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was just like 10 years ago. Even 10 years ago, people
Yeah.
didn't
No,
know how to use
it
the internet. I was on the internet.
no, it's true. A lot of people still didn't know. I mean, it's still like I think it's far more rare now that you have people who don't know. But every now and then it's always funny because I have like grandparents who will literally pay me just to set up their like iPhone settings for them. And I'm like, you don't have to. This is really simple. They're like, no, no. Here you go. Here's $20. Do it for me. They're
I
like,
think
I'm
they're.
too old to learn this. And I'm like, okay, I'll
I
take
think
the
they're just
free
trying to give
money.
you. They're just trying to give you gas money. I think they're concerned for your financial situation.
Probably. That's honestly,
They're
at
like,
that point, I mean, I did have lost my apartment and was living with my parents. So yeah, I think she was probably just trying to help me out.
okay, because like they're like, our granddaughter's an actress. She
Yeah,
might need
here
this.
you go. She
I'm sorry.
needs this more than I do.
And I'm retired.
Yeah, exactly.
So Anish, he equates it to the team like they started making an animated movie and then they shot it a live
Mm,
action movie and then they put the live action movie back into the animated movie and then kept refining the animated movie. That's exactly how he
I
said it. I'm not that's
yeah,
how
yeah,
he
yeah.
said it.
No, I really like that explanation because I think that's a very effective way to have looked at it because I think from a particular lens this is a more animated
Yeah,
visual movie than it is a live action experience.
for sure. For sure. And they also had like moments of doubt with each other and their like highs and lows because this is a very different movie.
Mhm.
But and he said it was like a group lifting each other up whenever they were down. Like if someone was down, someone else helped them up,
Oh.
and vice versa. I've had
Oh,
that
I
before as
love
well.
that.
So let's talk about the box office. Oh
Mhm.
wait, do you want to hear about the Easter eggs or the box office first?
Let's talk about the box office and then talk about the
Okay.
Easter eggs. Just
So this,
because, yeah, I
all
was
right.
more, yeah. Carry on.
So this was a financial and critical success, grossing
Really?
over $75 million worldwide against a $880,000 budget. Receiving,
Oh, I thought
yeah,
this may
right.
have been. I'm
I thought it
confused.
was more.
I no, I thought this may have flopped just because I didn't hear much about the movie, so it didn't seem like it was very successful money wise. That's why I was interested in hearing the box office, but it did good. Yay!
75 times more
That
than
makes me
the budget.
happy. That makes me really happy that it did
I
good.
thought the budget would be at least like 2 million,
No,
but
that's
it's like
surprising.
less than a million.
That's yeah.
Received praise for its directing, acting, unique visual presentation, and unpredictable storyline. Yeah, it was a little predictable.
Mm.
At the Independent Spirit Awards, Cho was nominated for Best Male Lead,
Aw,
but he
yay.
didn't win.
Yeah, that's fine. I
He
mean,
should have
yeah.
won.
It's fine. It's the Independent Film Awards. He probably was. I don't know. Wait, can you look up the category? I want to know he was up against. Because I'm like, he was
Best
probably
Male. Okay.
because he was in 2019. I'm like, he was probably in a tough category. Because if I'm thinking of the time frame, if it was 2019, I understand. 2019 was a very good year for movies.
Ethan Hawke.
He lost to Ethan Hawke for what?
First Reformed. That's a good movie.
Okay.
First
Okay.
Reformed.
I haven't seen that movie, but it's
Okay.
good.
I've heard very good things about it. I saw the trailer for it. And Ethan
Okay.
Hawke is an amazing actor. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I understand. I understand
Yeah.
now.
Okay. All right.
It would be an honor to lose to Ethan Hawke.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you can say you were in a category with Ethan Hawke, you know? It's like all
Right?
the actresses who can say who lost, who were like, I was in a category with Meryl Streep, you know, it's the same. It's that same kind of weight.
I mean, there's some things where like you should have gotten at least an award, like with Better Call
Oh,
Saul,
for
with
sure.
what's his name, Bob Odenkirk,
Bob Odenkirk.
has been nominated for years, but he never won.
Has he not? What?
He never won
Not
for
even
an
for this
Emmy.
season, or has it?
Not even for the final. Because guess who won for the final season, like the latest Emmy, or like TV award. It was the lead from Squid Game. Yeah.
The timing.
I
The
personally think that
timing.
was, even though I like Squid Game, I think Better Call Saul is the
Oh
much
no,
better
absolutely.
TV show.
It's timing. It's timing because all of
And
those award shows, you know, there's
I think it's more
ratings.
like political. Like
Yes.
as I've grown older, I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, like these are getting
It's the
political.
politics. It's the
Yeah,
politics.
like
That's
they
why.
want to be seen as like more diverse.
That's why I said timing.
Yeah.
It's the
Yeah.
political timing of it. That's why.
And I don't mean this in like in a negative way. I just think like, oh yeah, like I said, timing of it.
Yeah. That's it. That's why I'm like,
It sucks. But like, here's the thing though. There have been movies that have won Oscars over the past few years that we don't even remember. Right?
Oh, well, I mean, that's since the Oscars. Do you remember the
Yeah.
movie How Green Is My Valley?
That doesn't exist. That's
No,
not a
it
movie.
does. Do you know what it beat?
What did it beat?
Citizen Kane.
No. What, you left me suspect?
Yes.
No.
I was like, do you know the film How Green Is My Valley?
I was like,
It
that movie
beats
does not exist.
Citizen fucking Kane.
Oh my gosh. I'm thinking like for
Yes.
there's one year where The English Patient won,
Oh, yeah.
and there were like other movies that are in that category. I don't remember what the movies are, but like there are like movies like The Shawshank Redemption, Pulp Fiction.
Yep.
Like that yeah.
Yeah, no,
Stuff like
exactly.
that.
Yeah.
So it'd be like that. It'd be like that.
It'd be like that. It'd be like that. I'm like, do you know this movie? That's how I remember it always, is because I'm like, that movie beats Citizen Kane.
Yeah. So actually, in the finding the Easter egg section in the DVD menu was an Easter egg by itself.
Really?
I don't know where to click it, but I had it on VLC player because I watched it on my computer. I think it's the best way to watch it because I watched it on my computer.
Oh yeah, I watched it on a computer too.
Look at you!
Look at us! Yeah, look at us, man! Look at us! Look at us!
So the thing is, I got it from the library, and I don't know what it is, but they made it so like it's hard to like copy the movie onto your computer, which I understand because but like the way they did it, they made it difficult to even get to the menu. So I was just looking like in the, like when I was on VLC media player, I went to like the top tab and instead of like playback, I went to like title and just like looked up a different title and I found like the Easter egg section. So I don't know where to find it on the DVD menu because it wasn't in special features, but I found the Easter eggs special feature. So that's context for like how I know so many Easter eggs. Some of them I caught by myself, but I'm just listing them out right now.
Yeah.
So the mascot of the high school is a catfish.
Is a catfish.
Yeah, right. I didn't see that. I didn't notice that until like once I saw
I noticed it was like it was definitely like a fish because they called it the fins, but I didn't see catfish, but it makes sense.
I was like,
or
wow.
Is that different? Wait, is that no? I might be different. The Fins is no, that's a different football team. That's what the uncle had. I'm getting them confused. I don't sports. It's okay.
Me neither. So and also. They say it's an Easter egg. I guess it is, but I noticed it when I first saw it. The front article in the news website with a man that survived in the wilderness for 9 days.
Yeah.
So they knew they wanted to have some relevance to the movie.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
So they set up the idea that someone could survive in the woods, and that's how I knew she was able to do it because like.
And it also feeds why John Cho's character put it together. That makes more actual logical sense. It's like, well, if he read an article, this is why he knows. That's great.
Yeah. And it goes to show that the detective didn't read that article either. She's probably on like a different website.
Literally, for sure. I mean, honestly, I feel like she could have just not been caught if she was a better detective. Like if
Or
she'd been
better
just a
better
little bit
person in
better.
general.
Well, yeah, but she wouldn't have a case if she was a better person.
Another Easter egg is like with the YouTube page that you'll see. It's hidden,
Mhm.
but there's an honest trailers thumbnail of the movie searching on the YouTube page. So they made it themselves. Like it wasn't honest trailers that made it for them. They
Uh-huh.
made like an honest trailers thumbnail for the movie searching. And
Oh, that's great.
Rose, and that's just like call it because like they love that channel.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not a fan of that. I'm not a fan of that channel for some reasons. I'm a
Gotcha.
hater.
Gotcha. I enjoy honest trailers. I like them in their heyday. I still enjoy them now, but yeah,
And Rosemary Vick is named after Rosemary's Baby
that's what I thought.
and Vic Mackey from The Shield, who he
Cool.
was. It's a show about like crooked cops.
Okay,
And
cool. I got the anytime I hear Rosemary, I think Rosemary's Baby.
yeah, yeah.
So,
And they said like they wanted to reinforce Rosemary as a mother to remind
mhm.
that to the audience through her Facebook page, like I said, with the
Yeah.
profile picture
Yeah,
and also the banner.
that banner is what got me like started thinking like, okay, because it was like nothing more than a mother's love. I think it's just the inner like pessimistic, not the biggest fan of kids right now in my life, where I am surrounded by mothers, like mothers that are my age. A lot of my friends that I
Your
grew
age.
up
Oh
with,
wow.
they're all
I understand.
moms. They're all moms, and like just this constant like just mind you, for the people watching, I like children, but I'm not in that phase right now. And so this idea when like moms just like, shove their babies and just they are the light of their life and everyone deserves to treat them with the most glorious of love. I'm just
Mhm.
like, Mhm. Like I don't like it. I'm like, I mean, he's fine. He doesn't have a personality. Like I'm like, he doesn't. Like I can't have a conversation with him.
I
Like
I understand
so
what you mean. I said this to my dad recently. Like growing up, whenever my dad's friends would try to talk to me, it's always awkward because like they're like, "So, school? What grade are you in? Okay, you like football? Like, I'm always like, yeah, okay, yeah, no,
yeah, like that's
like,
it. Like I
and
mean,
I never understood it until I became an adult, and I have friends with kids now, or
yeah.
my cousins they have kids now, and then I'm like, what do I say to this child? Like
No,
he's
literally.
5. I don't know what to say to him.
Yeah, no, it's because for me, it's the age of the children. Because it's like when
Right.
they're like toddlers, I don't care. I can't, they don't have a personality. But once they hit the 7 mark, that's when I start liking kids because then they have their own personality. Even if they're a little shit, I at least respect them because they own that they're a little shit.
Yeah, a lot of those didn't like me because I was a little shit.
Yeah.
The word I know for sure is criado, right?
Hmm.
Because I was called that every single day by a
Oh
different adult.
man. Oh
And
man.
so let's get back on track.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So the thing with Robbie, the kid who did it,
Yeah. Okay.
he's ever present in Margot's Facebook page, and this I didn't catch because
Really?
he's the first one to comment on her Facebook posts. He's always like liking her stuff,
Really?
commenting on her stuff, but I didn't catch it was the same kid.
Yeah,
Um,
I didn't catch it either because I remember seeing Robbie, but I didn't
right.
catch that was the same kid.
So in Pam's address book, which I did catch by the way, I called it the first time I called it.
Uh-huh.
The first name that's pulled up is Robbie. Robbie
Mm-hmm.
Abel, and in the notes it says that he has a crush on Margot.
Yeah.
And I said this before, I'll say it again. I caught it the first time. The
Yeah.
first time.
Hey,
You see it's a nice
proud of you,
Easter
man.
egg? Nah, it's investigation.
Uh-huh.
So and also like the on the Facebook photos, the names of the characters that are like tagged are named after leads in M. Night Shyamalan's films. Because
What? No, they're not.
Anish is a huge fan of M. Night.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
I I wouldn't consider myself a fan of M. Night Shyamalan, so I didn't really catch that.
Mm-hmm.
But you'll see
Yeah, I
it in
wouldn't have caught
like
that.
when you watch it.
Yeah, just because I
And
haven't thought of the names of the characters in his
yeah.
films in a long time, so I wouldn't have caught that. But that's nice. I like that. I like that Easter egg.
And when David's looking up Tumblr for the first time. A TV tropes page for searching is like in the suggestion.
Nice.
And if you like movies, you might know about TV tropes. It's like a Wikipedia for like tropes in TV,
Mm-hmm.
and just specifically for the movie searching, they had it there.
Nice.
And there's like a Facebook trending news article that shows M. Night Shyamalan meeting with superfan director in a cameo in the film.
Uh-huh.
The director is supposed to be Aneesh, but that's never happened before. He's like
Oh.
hoping it'll happen.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Maybe it'll happen.
Another Easter egg, which they say is an Easter egg, but they mention it right in the film. I think they're kind of like confusing what Easter egg means.
Oh, okay.
Is when Rosemary asked if David was at the lake, and he never mentioned that he was at the lake. Did you catch that? When David went to the lake, when he figured out where she went.
Uh-huh.
He's like, Vic, you said she ran away, but like he found like the keychain, the Pokemon keychain, and she's like, where are you? Are you at the lake? He never mentioned the lake at all, and I caught that. I'm like,
he didn't say he was at the lake. I mean, but could it have been maybe like, could it have been what's it called, the what do you call it? Hysteria, like him being hysterical and not thinking about it, and she put it together.
No, because all you could see was him looking at the phone, like, and trees in the background. That's all you could see.
Yeah. Okay.
And he showed the keychain.
Oh, now I get it. Now I get it. Because he never said he was at the lake. She said, "Are you at the lake?" So she's self-incriminating. Oh, that's nice.
I caught that the first time. I'm like,
that's nice.
But I didn't catch that she might have been like a part of it, because I had no idea how she would have been a part of it. But yeah, she mentioned like, "Are you at the lake?"
Are you at the lake?
What are you talking? He never mentioned the lake.
That's great. Oh, I love that. That's great.
It's like that. Did you see Multiverse of Madness?
Yes.
So you remember when Wanda, she said like, "Don't worry, America will be safe here."
Oh yeah.
And Doctor Strange is like,
but I caught that shit like from the moment she said it. She's like, "Why don't you just bring America here?" I was like, Wanda. He never said her name.
I didn't catch that first, but then like a second later, wait a minute.
Yeah, no. I caught it immediately, but
I caught it. I caught it.
Yeah, you did. And this one was far more subtle. So proud of you, man.
So
because multiverse is not subtle.
It
wasn't.
I will say, like, there's another Easter egg, which I don't think it's an Easter egg. The moment near the end with the guy who confessed, quote unquote confessed, he looks off screen to read the script. That's the Easter egg, which I noticed it the first time too. Like, nah, this guy's bullshit. Like,
I mean, I called the bullshit, but I didn't catch that he was looking at like a script. Yeah, that's great.
Like, if you're confessing to a crime, you don't read scripts. I mean, sometimes people are anxious and they might put together scripts to describe the exact confession. And also, this is like an actual Easter egg. I didn't notice this at all because it's like hidden, you know.
Okay.
There's a moment when David opens his Gmail account and there's an email from Seville Hanian, the producer of the film, where he says that his theory is that Margot was catfished by Fish and Chips, who is no doubt the son of Vic. That is the email and like the subject header right there.
Oh my god!
You don't catch this because it's like in the list of emails and it's like towards the bottom.
Oh.
Or like, but like not at the bottom, but like in the middle of the bottom. So like you don't catch it at all. And I'm like,
that's fantastic,
bro.
That's fantastic. I love that.
The last Easter egg is the Easter egg of all Easter eggs. Did you know there's an entire subplot happening throughout the entire film that has nothing to do with the characters at all? Do you want to guess what it is? Do you have any idea?
It has nothing to do with the characters at all?
Nothing to do with the plot whatsoever.
Does it have something to do with the food? Like food that they're making?
Oh, no.
Oh, okay, then I have no idea.
Okay. Throughout the entire film, in almost every single scene, there's entirely separate subplot that is happening in the world as David is searching for Margot. there are reports of green electromagnetic anomalies. There are YouTube videos. There's people commenting about it on UCast. There are articles about it. Even in the first article, the news article with the hiker is like one of the other list of articles right there. And there's articles of people at NASA being killed, and the president is going to make a statement about it. An alien invasion is starting to consume the planet, and the subplot is never resolved. And so, in the final scene with Margot looking at her computer, it shows an article of the president going to give a statement towards the end of the film, but we never know what happens to the human race.
This is great. I feel like the Easter eggs have made me love and appreciate this movie even more. Honestly, I appreciate this so much. That's hilarious. I love that.
And there's more stuff, but I didn't bother to look at it again.
Yeah.
Because that's like the Easter egg of all Easter eggs, right?
Oh,
there.
Absolutely. That's incredible. They're secretly you've been watching an alien invasion is happening at the same time that this missing persons case is occurring.
Because I did see a thumbnail for YouTube video said actual alien caught on film and had 3,000 views. And then there's other reports of electromagnetic anomalies happening or whatever, and there's I didn't notice the UCast comments. They were talking about that too. I was like, whoa,
that's hilarious.
Oh my gosh, those are all the Easter eggs.
Yes, that's a lot of Easter eggs, but honestly I wouldn't expect anything less from a film that is told through the medium that it's told through.
Definitely. That concludes our conversation today. Thank you so much, Clariss, for being here. I really appreciate you coming back here talking about this very unique film.
Yes, thank you so much.
I want to ask you real quick, was Searching a hit or a miss with you?
Oh, this was a hit. This is a solid hit.
Yeah, I would say it's a hit for me too. 3.5 stars. Yeah. People giving it 4 and 5. That's your opinion, sir. Okay. I mean, we do have Citizen Kane. Okay. Yeah. Very different film.
Very different film. You can't put them in the same place.
So where can we find you on social media?
You can find me at callme_Clariss on Instagram, and I am Clariss, Clariss, over on YouTube. We're trying to get to the illustrious 25K, hopefully by the end of this year. Things are looking good. I've got tons of reactions. I talk about what makes film and TV so great. So if you guys liked all the analysis that we talked about on this podcast, you can check out more of those things over on YouTube. And I do have a Patreon where I offer even more in-depth discussions about different movies. I recently did The Predators 1 and 2. Coming out next is going to be the How to Train Your Dragon series. So if you guys want to cry with me, go check that out. Probably by the time that this comes out, those will be out on my channel. So yeah.
Awesome. So that's it for today, folks. You've been listening to the Hit List Podcast. This is season 5, episode 3. My name is Jason. And until next time, cross off a new film from your list. Finger guns.
Hey, finger guns!